Tuesday, October 1st at 10 a.m. at 196 Chatham Road in Harwich. We'll be starting off with an executive session. I'll read the notice. Pursuant to MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining for all town unions, and the chair has determined that open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the town's bargaining position, Harwich Employees Association, and personnel bylaw. I would need a motion to go into executive session.
I'll move.
Second?
Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
And so that is 5-0 that we will move to executive session.
And you just have to let me know when you're out.
Okay. At 10:50, I received a motion to move back into regular session for the Board of Water Wastewater Commissioners for Tuesday, October 1st, 2024. So I will open, with that, I will open the regular session. So what is the pleasure of the board? We have these gentlemen here from our engineering firm for the Route 28 water main presentation. We could do that and then go through regular business.
That sounds good.
Sounds good? Sounds good. Sounds good. Okay, so without objection, we'll take out of order new business, item A, Route 28 water main project presentation by Bob Drake.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Bob Drake from GHD, and along with me I have Eric Woodbury, who's one of my project managers for this job. And I did make up a little agenda just so we could sort of follow that along here, so make it a little bit easier. I didn't know what the... There could be two there. I don't know.
Yeah, there is.
Thank you. Yeah, I got it.
You can just follow along if you have any
Great.
other additional questions, that's fine. So, I know last time we presented at the town meeting the other night, you know, I was told to keep it brief and short and directly to the point, and that was it. So I figured there'd be several questions afterwards on where everything stood and why things that seems to be, I don't want to say slipping, but things take time, you know.
So
So we can get into that today then.
If I could, Bob, yeah, there was some miscommunication in how that meeting was pulled together, and I went into it thinking it was going to be the down and dirty, you know, A to Z.
Right.
So I quickly learned that was not to be the case, but that's all right. Here we are, and we're all going in the right direction, so
Good.
that's great.
So why don't we start with what we refer to as phase one of the project, which is the MassDOT portion of it, which is from Upper County Road to the Heron River. Where we stand on this right now presently is we did deliver 75% plans and drawings to MassDOT and also VHB and also to the town, okay? That was done back in December 22nd of 23. As of today, we have not heard back from MassDOT about anything, as far as any comments, which is typical. They submit them and, okay, we'll put a placeholder in.
The norm.
Yeah, it is the norm, you know, and it's not really, unless we're going outside the roadway limits and stuff like that, they usually don't comment that much unless they have some concerns. But, you know, this portion of the work, you know, the roadway's being redone, the sidewalks are being redone, so whatever, you know, 90% of their concerns would have been with our work are being addressed by their own work, so.
Yeah.
Quick question, Bob.
Yeah.
These both say Upper County Road to the Herring River,
Mm-hmm.
phase one and phase two.
Right.
Which one's west and which one's east?
Okay, west of the river is phase one. That one's about 4,000 feet of 12-inch water main.
So it's not really Upper County Road to the Herring River?
Well, Division Street in Upper County, all tying together there.
So is it Division Street to the Herring River?
I'll show you the plans.
Yeah, yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes,
The
it is.
words, I think, are wrong.
Oh,
So Upper County is part of that intersection.
Right. Yeah, this is Upper County right here, okay? This is Route 28, so this is Division Street. So this whole intersection, you can, if you want to call it Division Street instead of Upper County, it's this whole intersection. Then you go east to the river,
Yeah,
okay?
all right.
Yeah.
So this is Division.
Yeah, this is Upper County right here, and this is Route 28.
Right there.
So they all coming together.
That intersection.
Oh, so you mean Upper County and Dennis?
Yes.
Jeez.
On the other side of Division Street.
Well,
That makes sense now, right?
Oh, wait. We have Lower County. They
right,
have Upper
exactly.
County.
We have
Your other end is Lower County, exactly. So that's where we're starting.
All
and
right,
we're-
so we're not doing too well, Bob.
Well, it is Friday, right?
Okay, yeah.
Somewhere.
All right,
This is
okay.
So we did submit the 75%. I've been in touch with VHB, or VHB has reached out to us and said that they want 100% plans and specifications for that section of work by the end of November. Okay, which shouldn't be an issue with us. Here's the million-dollar question, what is their proposed construction schedule? A couple weeks ago, Steve Rose from VHB, I asked these questions, and he said the anticipated advertisement date is going to be September of 2025. So after next Labor Day. So that's to advertise the contract. So then there's the process to award it and so forth. So the next two dates I have on here, anticipated start of construction, I'm assuming it's going to be April of 2026. That's what I'm assuming.
So when you
He didn't give
say,
me a date, so.
so this is, when you say their bid date, is this DOT's bid date? Whose
That's,
bid
yeah,
date is this?
MassDOT. MassDOT is the awarding authority on this.
So you don't expect MassDOT to go out until September of '25?
For advertisement, that's correct. Advertisement of the project. To
For
put
the
it in the
bid.
paper, right.
And we can't do anything in the western portion of the project until after MassDOT?
Well, this work is included within the MassDOT specs
Right.
and so forth, so I would say no.
Okay. These dates are different than you gave on September 4th.
Well, I just got this, like I said, like last week or the week before from VHP.
Right.
And these are anticipated, you know, part of the issue, Noreen, is MassDOT, you know, when they redo the sidewalks, redo the roadway and so forth, there's always takings of the roadway
Yeah.
here and there, corners, and that takes, as we all know, you could say 6 months, it could be 9 months, it could be 2 years, and I think that's the issue that they're having. There were some takings, and they're having, you know, discussions with the landowners and so forth. So that's what drags it all out.
Okay.
And that's what governs the advertisement date and so forth, because they need all the easements in place before they put the contract on.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Okay, thanks.
yep. So I'm anticipating, starting in April 2026, and it should be approximately 2-year project. So it'll be done, I'm assuming November 2028. I'm in the process of setting up a meeting with VHB to discuss all this in further detail and to work out some little things that we have with them, so, which Jason will be invited to. Lucky him. As far as any potential issues or concerns, it's just, it's just the coordination of your water and sewer work that we're designing with the new alignment of the roadway or new drainage that they're proposing and so forth. So we just have to coordinate that with, VHB to make sure they're not putting drain pipes over our proposed water mains or for sewer. Sewer's out in the middle of the road, so that shouldn't be a problem, but sometimes you tuck the water main, by the curb and stuff like that. So we just have to make sure that there's no potential conflicts there, moving forward. We did that under the 75% submittals to them, but I don't know if things have changed since then, as far as their work is concerned.
Yeah, I don't want any water mains under their castings or anything like that.
Right, exactly.
Go around.
They obviously, for drainage concerns, sometimes they throw in a couple more catch basins here and there, and now all of a sudden you have a catch basin and a drain pipe right over your water main. We just gotta double check on all that work.
Bob, do you anticipate there'll be a different contractor for this portion from Division to the bridge, a different contractor for the water main replacement portion, and also for the sewer pipe installation portion?
I would say there's a good chance. I would say there's a good chance that they're gonna be two different contractors.
Okay, yeah.
Especially, in today's life on the Cape, I think we're the busiest place in the Northeast right now with all the work that's going on, with, Yarmouth just advertised 4 large sewer main projects.
Right.
Same thing with Dennis. And there's other, communities are doing the same thing, so
I
I
only
think we're gonna
mentioned,
have a couple different contractors.
I only mentioned one concern, and it's probably very minor, but I'll mention it, is that the sewer pipe is obviously going through the SRF monies, whereas the water main project, we didn't make the IU
Right.
list that week, so we're paying for it on our own
Mm-hmm.
with interest. So
Mhm.
I don't want any bleed over from the one job to
Right,
the other,
right.
that's all.
No, and with the SRF, that's a very good question. With the SRF, depending on MassDOT's
Right.
schedule, bidding schedule and so forth, if we have to, resubmit for the SRF, that's no issue. You just resubmit the
You
form.
mean for the sewer pipe?
For the sewer pipe, yeah, for the
Well-
SRF funding,
Yeah, that's,
yeah, which is standard, so.
yeah, I think that already was resubmitted once.
I believe
But-
you're correct.
But
yeah.
that's not really our concern, I just don't want them to use our money on their labor.
We'll make sure of that,
Yeah.
that won't happen.
Okay,
And the other concern is, these are just very, very minor, I'm just bringing it up so we're all aware of it, it's just the scheduling, MassDOT schedule, we have no control over. MassDOT is the driver behind all this, as soon as they get all their easements and tell VHB is the main contractor for the, or main consultant, I should say, and we're doing the water portion, so our work is being put into their contract, so. It's just, we're just waiting on MassDOT. Whenever they say go, we're ready, so. Okay, do we have any questions about phase 1? So it's installing, 12-inch water main, basically replacing an older 8-inch main that's out there. And the sewer is, we're installing roughly the same amount of sewer pipe, about 4,000 feet of 3-inch low pressure that's going to be just installed so we don't have to tear up a brand new roadway. So we're ready to connect on future projects, all the pipe work is there. So all the laterals are put in and so forth, so it's all in place, so we don't have to touch the roadway or the sidewalks.
And it's
And the-
3-inch, did you say?
3-inch,
Is that-
right.
That's,
Right.
seems small. I don't know.
Well, it's low pressure, so that's why, yeah. So, if it was a gravity, it would be probably an 8 or, a 10-inch pipe.
Okay.
But since it's low, it's
I'm not an
under pressure.
engineer.
Well,
I
it's
just
a good
number-
question. It's
yeah.
good to- typically, it is a little small, so. Now, phase 2, which is basically running from, there's a mistake here, so.
That's
this will be
my
from-
confusion.
Yeah, I'm confused too.
thank you.
This is what happens when you copy and paste
Yeah.
a header. So it's from the Heron River to South Street.
All Lower
Okay, that makes
County?
sense. Yeah.
We're going from the Heron River on the other
Right.
side of the bridge, all the way down to South Street.
Well, we would say it's a Lower County is what we've been
Okay.
calling the, well, that's how we've been describing the project for 3 years.
Well,
you know.
Dan, extended it just a little bit further, so it's just beyond that, so.
All right.
He wanted to get into to the connection at South Street, so. So where we stand on this, on phase 2, is 90% plans and specs were submitted to the town on February 26th. And I have gone over those plans with Dan and Steve Hicks pretty thoroughly. So as far as, knowing where all the connections are and so forth for all the dwellings. We then submitted to those plans to MassDOT for their review. Now, MassDOT typically requires 2 to 3 reviews per set of plans. So we actually submitted back in February 22nd, and surprisingly, they were fairly quick with their review. I've been submitting plans to them for a lot of years, and sometimes it takes 6-9 months to come back, but they seem to be pretty good lately, and they got back to us within like a month and a half or 6 weeks with
So
their
that's
comments.
April 18th, 24?
Yeah, we got their comments back.
One question, Bob.
Yeah.
So this portion of the job is solely on the water department.
Right.
So I'm just curious, why do we even have to submit things to MassDOT other than they own the road?
That's
Well, you said it,
Yeah.
they own the road.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anytime you work in a state highway, you have to submit plans to them for their
Okay.
reviews. They have their own standards as far as, typically, our typical roadway will be, for a town hall, maybe 4 or 6 inches tops, depending on
Yeah.
the use of that road. The state roadways tend to be a little bit thicker, pavement-wise, usually up to about 8 inches. And sometimes they have a concrete base to it. So it gets a little bit more complicated and so forth. So they have their own requirements on how they want everything rebuilt, as far as the roadway is concerned. So we did get their comments back on April 18th, and that's a 24, not 25. And part of their requirements was they wanted soil borings throughout the length of the roadway or length of the project. I've only been involved with this job for the past year, and the prior regime for both the town and our group at the time thought it wasn't necessary to do borings because we were going to be just replacing the existing water main, but that was one of the standards from MassDOT. So we're in the process of obtaining that permit to do the soil borings. And I anticipate those borings to be completed by mid-November to late November of this year. So then we can submit, once we get those borings back, we can then submit for the second review to MassDOT.
This is probably the biggest project on that segment of Route 28, like in my lifetime.
Yeah, it's roughly 9,000 feet of new 12-inch water main, so it's gonna...
Even the road one.
Right, it's going to be one of the major feeds to the other side of the bridge. The town will be using it as, a main feed between that 12-inch pipe and also the 16-inch off of Lower County, so that feeds that whole other area, so it'll be nice. It'll be a nice strong system. Okay, so that's where we stand with the soil borings as far as the status of the work. The anticipated construction schedule, I'm looking to bid this in February. The reason why I'm choosing February is just because of MassDOT's reviews. So I'm trying to be conservative, but not too conservative here, since they did respond pretty quickly on the first review. With that being said, and if we put it out in February, that means we'll probably award the job in March. So as far as trying to get in, and you brought this up at the meeting the other night, Noreen, can we start in the spring? And the question is, most likely not, because you need a, construction meeting. The contractor then needs to order all his materials, the pipe and so forth. And that typically takes about, and Jason can confirm or agree or disagree with me, about 3 months after you award the job, before the contractor typically starts. So that would put it almost into the summer months.
Usually all their guys are laid off anyways.
Right. So usually, so that would put it,
Depending.
I'm anticipating not being able to work on Route 28 from Labor Day, Labor Day to Memorial Day, so.
My biggest question would be, when would Jason like the construction to start? When would he feel ready? I mean, the department is gonna have some needs, and do you feel better with a September 2025 date than trying to squeeze in a spring date?
Yes, I do.
You feel better?
I think spring of 2025 is really going to be rushed.
Okay.
And then I think Mass DOT, even if we do get out there, let's say it's April, let's say it's middle of April.
Yeah.
Are they even going to, how long are they going to let you work?
Well, usually it's a week before the holiday.
Right.
Yeah.
So you'll have maybe 6 weeks of work, if
Yeah.
that.
Just enough to make a mess.
Make a mess.
Right.
Just think about,
You know,
yes.
and then,
So-
do you want to disturb other businesses in that area, like
Yeah.
twice?
Yeah.
No.
Do it once.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Yeah.
whatever Jason's happiest with is what I would like to support. But the reason that I brought it up is by this scenario, in the spring of 2026, we'll have people working on both ends of 28.
Right.
So that's what I was kind of trying to avoid.
Right, so we'll be coordinating with VHB as far as, where contractors are starting and so forth. It seems like the way that the schedule is playing out is, we'll be out there on the phase 2, probably in September of 2025. So what we can do is probably have our contractor start the work by the bridge in 2025, the fall, so we're out of that area.
By the bridge
That-
going east?
Correct.
Okay.
So then, when the MassDOT project starts the following spring, if he starts by Division Street, he's well away from us, so we're both proceeding
Right.
in the same direction, but there won't be any conflict there. or issues.
So you're saying
Construction.
by the bridge going west then?
Well, I would have the MassDOT probably start up on Division Street, which is
Right.
away from the bridge.
Yeah,
So they'll be
right.
going from Division
Right.
towards the bridge.
Right.
Phase 2 will be starting at the bridge, heading towards Lower County Road,
So you'd be going east?
going east, correct. You must be a sailor.
Yeah. I've been driving that stretch of road a lot lately, so I know it a lot better than I used to.
Yeah.
I mean, that seems like something that, not today, but that really is going to need a lot of input from the board, from the town,
Mhm.
from other boards, other agencies about just how much construction can Route 28 bear at
Right.
one time, whether it's April, May, or September, forget the summer. But I don't think that's a decision we can make solely for engineering and engineering reasons,
Mhm.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So would it just be one side of the road?
Yes.
So we'd probably do a one-way with Lower County kind of thing,
Mhm.
I would imagine.
And with our work, typically, he'll get a couple hundred feet in it per day, so it's.
Oh, that
it's like
much?
a moving,
Wow.
depending on who you get and so forth. Anywhere, I would say 120 to 200 feet a day is usually an average number for something like this.
Yeah, digging here.
Hmm?
Digging on Cape, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
That's nice.
Sand.
So,
No problems.
in this scenario, when we were doing, funding plans and everything else, the project was always divided into 3s. It was the west end, the east end, but also the bridge.
Mhm.
So where does the bridge work fit into
The
this?
bridge would fall into phase 2,
Okay,
okay?
The bridge isn't too bad, though.
No, the bridge isn't too bad. No, it's a directional drill. I mean, there's some
Oh, well, for the bypass.
for the bypass,
Yeah.
right? And that's a point of discussion, whether, you know, Jason and I have been talking a little lately about it, whether there's a need to have both types. A pipe on the bridge and then also a secondary bypass pipe.
Yep.
Or redundant line for directional drill. And that's, you know, that's the million-dollar question, because, you know, what happens when you have all that pipe there, all that, and they're good-sized water mains, especially for that, to feed that area. The big concern will be, you know, stagnant water, you know. And what happens is, you know, as far as your cleanliness of water or water quality is, you know, typically based on like chlorine residuals. And when you have stagnant water, those chlorine residuals decrease, and that's when you get all your water hits and so forth. But you have to go to the, you know, add more chlorine to your system and so forth, or flush your lines more often and stuff like that. So I think that's gonna be a point that we're gonna, you know, put our heads together and think about the next, you know, week or so, what direction the town wants to head.
Yes, I didn't know how Dan had discussed this with the board. There's one that's going, there's a water main that's going over the bridge, and then a bypass that's going underneath and coming up. That's the directional drill. My concern, I was talking to Bob, was the short circuiting, meaning the direction of the water main going right over the bridge would just go right over the bridge, and that water that's in that directional drill would be stagnant, would be just sitting there. And that was my concern. If anything were to happen, and take all that water and bring it down. And then we'd have to flush that water main out. We have to flush it, I would say, 4 times a year. So we're gonna have to add a hydrant onto that directional drill that goes underneath there. We'd have to flush that water just to make sure it didn't sit there.
Are we currently hanging on the bridge now?
We're currently hanging on the bridge now, yes.
Okay.
And so I
So-
had talked, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, because prior to that, we were under the river, I believe, when they rebuilt the bridge. Well, no, I shouldn't say that, because it seems to me the water main, that old 2-lane bridge that was there, they were hung on the side. So,
Yeah, right now, it's right underneath the deck of the
yeah,
bridge.
yeah. Well, it's
So-
worked, huh?
Mhm.
And it was a very good, so directional drill, that 12-inch underneath and come up on the other side, would be in case of a storm that took that bridge out,
Yeah,
you would still have that directional drill. So my theory was, do we need that hanging on the bridge? Do we need to spend that money and hang it on the bridge and have 2 in the case of a 100-year storm that wipes the bridge out? So that's what my concern was. And can we put another water main connecting, I think we said Bell's, was it Bell's Neck?
Bell's Neck, yeah.
Bell's Neck, and connecting that 16 down. So we have a feed from the top coming down instead of 2 going over. That was my,
all I remember mentioned was that it might be an opportunity for more redundancy. I mean, that's the only level I can go to. But I was curious if the 90% plans were turned in on those plans, has this been engineered or scoped out?
Yes, yes it has.
And what was the conclusion?
Well, it was designed that way, putting in both pipes. That was with, you know, with Dan
Yeah,
and with my, you know, person before me. So that was the discussion. You know, redundancy is a nice thing in water, but too much redundancy is not good. As you know, Jason, I've been telling you, sometimes you then, all of a sudden, you're not using the water, it becomes stagnant. And that's, you know, that's not good for a water system. Now you'll have poor water quality then. You know, so I don't believe the town has a water model, so you can't really run that scenario. So what that would mean is the town would then, you know, need to, or be required to go out and flush more fire hydrants to keep that water moving. You do have, as I mentioned, this brand-new water main going in on Route 28, which is a 12. You have, on Lower County, you have a existing 16-inch water main down there to feed the area. And in case of emergency, I believe you have another 6-inch water main that could be opened from the town of Dennis. So when I look at the area, I think there's plenty of redundancy within the system as it stands today. There's a couple of areas I'd like to see improved over on that side, but we can talk about that later. But as far as redundancy and the quantity of water being able to provide into that area, I think there's plenty.
But question, now when you think of the development down on the Lower County side
Mhm.
and the demand for water,
Mhm.
I don't see that 16 down there is enough to compensate for Route 28 use.
Well, you have both water
That's-
pipes, right?
But as long as both are in operation,
Right.
we're great.
Mm-hmm.
But to just depend on one or the other to back up,
Right,
why not?
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, we would have to do some further investigation on that,
Mm.
but I would, the 2 lines is nice. What it also does too, it sort of creates a loop effect of the water, so the water keeps
Mhm.
flowing,
Mhm.
instead of just going in one direction.
Yeah.
It improves, typically that will improve the water pressure when, firefighting capabilities when you have a loop system like that.
yeah, one question. When we're going with a 12-inch main across the bridge,
Mhm.
what's feeding the 12 on this side of the
You
bridge?
have several connections further upstream, a couple 16-inch lines coming down.
Yeah,
So
okay.
we did check into, I did look into that, so you do have, it's ample supply.
So we have
of-
ample supply
Yes,
feeding to the bridge.
Right.
Yeah.
You have 2 or 3 16 and 12-inch lines tying into that.
Yeah, okay.
Can I say on that note, another thing to keep in mind is that, this job was originally looked at during the crazy supply chain COVID times. So the article that went through town was for 17.5, but the real estimated cost of the job is only about 9.8, call it 10 million. So in other words, whatever is the best thing to do for the future and for the water main, this is one time I can say we have ample room. True, it's not SRF and we'll be paying for it ourselves, but nevertheless, that's quite a, 5 years ago, we looked out and said we can afford 17.5, so we can certainly do whatever needs to be done the best without constraints. So,
How deep is the bore?
Typically, you're about 20 feet below the bottom of the river. So, you want to be that deep because, what happens is, not to get too technical on you, when you bore a hole, we're coming in with a 12-inch water pipe, so the hole will use typically 1.5 times the size of that. And to keep the hole from collapsing, what you do is you pump it full of bentonite, which is a concrete slurry, concrete mix, a clay mix. It's non-hazardous, non-environmental concern, it's very safe. So you want to be that deep so it doesn't, what they call is frack out, which, sometimes happens. What happens is, you look at the topography out there and, especially when you're starting on either side of the river, you're only down about, you're down maybe 6-7 feet, your pit. And what happens is if there's any loose soils in the area, that bentonite will find the least path of resistance and will come up through that crack. It looks messy, but it's, like I said, it's non-invasive, non-hazardous, and typically within the year, everything is back to normal. But when you see it, it's like, oh gosh. I always tell it, it's like having a bed sheet putting a bunch of powder in it and flapping it up and down. That's what it looks like, goes everywhere. So a couple of precautions that we do take, we will be on land, we'll be setting up the straw wattle, so if something does happen, we can contain it. Within the river, if it does happen, we will have booms out there to control the migration of it, okay? And it quickly settles. Sort of reminds you of the Chicago River during St. Patrick's Day. It's green for a couple of days and then it dissipates, But people drive by and they go, oh my God, look at this.
Well, let's do it around St. Patrick's Day.
But that's why I just wanted to bring that out to you, because it does happen. I mean, you can't control the soils or anything like that. So, but as I said, it's non-hazardous, non-environmental concern and so forth or anything like that. So, but that's one of the, you have pros and cons. That's one of the, okay, it happens.
Can I throw something out?
Yeah.
On the redundancy? Could we think about, just throw an idea, that if we didn't do the redundancy, but instead, if the bridge were to go out, if we purchased the same amount of piping, whatever you'd need to restring that once the new bridge is put in, if the bridge gets washed out, that could come out of that budget, so that we actually have the stock. And it's redundant, but you don't have to worry about water sitting in it.
I would say it would be my opinion just to do the directional drill
Oh, okay,
and not even put it on the bridge.
okay.
That's.
Oh, so that's the primary,
Right.
and the redundant
In
under
case
the
of
bridge.
emergency, you'd
Got
have
you.
hydrants on either side, you could
Got ya.
You would-
bypass.
Right.
I had it backwards in my
Yeah.
head.
You still could have
Shocking.
like a 6 or 8 pipe,
You need
if
more
the
water.
bridge,
Yeah.
something happened to the bridge, you still could lay pipe on it and an emergency situation, definitely.
I'm not weighing in on that, folks.
Well,
Let's stick to money.
I was thinking if the bridge is gone, and we have a redundant water main on the bridge, we're gonna be doing some sort of work to shut that off on
Right,
each side.
on the other side.
But if we have the directional drill that goes underneath it, then
Then we don't have to
maybe we
worry about
find a
that.
way on Bell's Neck to bring that water main up, so we're feeding up and around and down. So that was my redundancy
Mhm.
of that, and so.
Okay, so you have potential issues or concerns, I guess?
Okay, and, it's just, I think we touched on it a little earlier, was it just a coordination of work between phase 1 and 2. That's just me getting together with VHB and discussing that, so that shouldn't, I'm just bringing it up just so
Yep.
we're all aware of it. Part of the directional drill operations, we're most likely gonna need an easement, either from Massport, who owns the land on the west side of the bridge, which will be coming down. Okay, so I'll reach out to them and I'll let you know. I'll find out where the limits of their, that area has been surveyed, so let me go back and take a peek at that and
Is that
put it together.
the old Irish club? No? Is that the Irish club there?
Yeah, they're Irish
Pub
pub,
there?
yeah.
Yeah.
But then it was taken over by somebody that never opened, I think.
Well, that's a good question. I've kind of lost track of the status of it anymore. But, well, number one, the group the last ones that operated it went bankrupt. The bank took it back. But that's where I lost track.
Yeah, they're ahead of me.
It was slated for
Yeah.
tear down, no? Because it had the red.
Bob, the insertion valves, weren't they gonna be bid by the town, or?
Yes, and we're in the process of doing that. I had meetings with Steve. I wanted Steve to get back to see where we were. And I wanted to talk to Bob, and he's gonna incorporate the road openings for the insertion valve
Mm-hmm.
in with MassDOT. So-
Right, we'll just have to pick those locations and they'll be included with in our limit of work permit, so.
So I'm hoping that with that, that's gonna give us time to install these insertion valves in anticipation of the September start. So that's what we can be working on in the springtime, getting ready for this anticipated start here. So Steve and I will be picking out some locations along Route 28 to install those. And any side street that needs to be done.
What are, like, Horsley Witten and Tetra Tech, are they other firms, or?
Okay,
Yeah.
the town has an ongoing where you're crossing, well, we'll be crossing with the directional drill. There's a boat ramp on the east side of the river. That Horsley and Witten is a consultant for the design. They're gonna be redoing, right now it's like a gravel parking lot for the boat ramp and so forth. They're gonna be paving that area and putting in some greenery over there and so forth. So it's just a coordination between us, and so I'll be reaching out later on this week. We'll set up a meeting, we'll have them come in, explain to them, what our schedule is, see what their schedule is and so forth. Because you don't want them to be putting a brand new parking lot in with shrubs and all that, then having us come in and tearing it all up 2 months later.
So that's their own project, that's not on our
Well,
dime?
it's right, it's their project, but it potentially could affect our
I
work a little bit.
understand, yeah.
This is why I put it down here, so
Right.
these are the little things that we gotta
Right.
iron out here, that's all.
And what's
Yeah.
happening at Sisson Road?
Sisson, well, there was a
Yeah, that was
a
the
benzene
accident.
spill a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
so Tetra Tech is the consultant for the owner of that spill, the truck that spilled over, so they did all the testing out there. They've been out there for at least the past year. I've been in contact with them, and he's given us information and saying that the levels of detection are below, issue concerns. So, putting it out there, because we'll may have something in our contractors for testing the soils, but before the contractor disposes of it for hazardous materials and so forth, so it's not a red flag, but okay, there's an issue here, we're aware of it, let's deal with it up front. Make sure the contractor, if it is a problem during construction, we're not gonna be delayed, because we know it's there, that's all.
One question, Bob. When this goes out to bid, September 2025, if all goes well and the moons align, is there any way we could put that directional boring in the spring before? And have that ready to go in September?
I think.
And I might be rushing a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, those are, anytime you get into a specialty, the stars may align for you.
Right.
But typically, anytime you get into specialty work, those contractors are far and few between, so it may work out that way, but I don't know. I mean, you would still have to go through, mass stuff, because it's either they'll land or you're gonna have equipment right adjacent to, Route 28. So as far as maybe working into, May or early June, I don't know if that will be allowed. Springtime, by the time they set up all the operations, I think that's still tough. But we could tell the contractor that's the first thing he has to do come, September, is to do that directional drill so it's out of the way. But that's gonna all be dependent on where the, directional drill contractors are and how busy they are at that time.
Just, Jason, when you said when this goes out to bid in September of 2025, but you were talking
I'm
about?
sorry.
Construction, I
Yeah.
think he was referring to.
Okay.
Construction, yeah.
All right, because you wouldn't have
Anticipate
had your
bids February.
insertion valves by then. I got
Yeah.
you, yeah, okay. Well, thank you for all this information.
Okay.
That's great. I have, first I'll go around the board if anybody has any further questions on our very, very big project?
This is routine.
It's our swan song, Alan, right? We go out smiling with the swan, you and I?
And the messiest part of this project is
Yeah.
the bridge.
Yeah.
Other than that,
Judith? No?
no sale.
Bob?
Pretty good.
All set.
Okay.
Me.
Jason? On this, no?
I'm good.
All right, so my next questions then would be, Bob, you know, I'm looking at your current contract, and it mentions that what is not in the scope of your current contract are bid phase services, construction phase services, and resident project representative services. So, here we are in October, so sounds like just the right time to be starting to talk about those things.
Okay.
But I feel that this board is going to want to be very active in an understanding of what outreach and what resident project representation is being done and planned, and things like that.
Okay.
So, and you know, if we feel we need something more, you know, exuberant doesn't quite sound like the right word, robust, you know, it's gonna be, I mean, I have to rely on other people here. 2.5 miles of the busiest street in our town. And all of the driveways, all of the businesses, all of the rose bushes, all of the issues back and forth, the whole staff going back and forth. I mean, this will be our life, you know, for 3 years. And if the public is never gonna know the difference, most of the public, nor do they have to know the difference between the sewer pipe work and this work. It's all gonna say water department. That's what I was saying to you on September 4th, is you'll be representing the water department, you know, it won't be the town. And we're fine with that, but, you know, we wanna, you know, do the very, very best that we can for them.
Right,
For our
right. You know, like
people.
I've worked on many large projects, cities, whether it's, you know, Boston or Framingham or Worcester, Providence, Hartford, where, you know, PR is a huge concern. And there's several avenues that you can typically go through. One is the town's website, which is the easiest. Putting
That
up
wouldn't be
updates and-
sufficient.
What's that?
I said that would not be sufficient.
No, and then there's other outreach
Right,
things
yeah,
that you put in,
yeah.
whether it's in the newspapers or if it's public meetings that you hold and so forth, keep the public informed.
We like the personal touch.
Right. And I've,
Yeah,
as Jason can attest to, I've done many of those.
right.
in
As
my
a matter of
day, so-
fact, it's interesting, because tonight they have the next info session on the Phase 3 project, also GHDs. And at the last one in March, everybody in the audience said the previous superintendent had either been to their house, most of them, or he had met with them, or certainly at least had a phone call, you know, a lengthy phone call, or many of them. And, you know, that's what really built up the trust that we
Sure.
want to continue and everything else. So I think I'm representing our thoughts when I say we want it to be extra special.
Are you thinking like an event, like a?
No, I'm thinking more, you know, continued communication up and down Route 28, you know, advanced mailings. And then, you know, as we get in front of a section, another mailing and another mailing and then, you know, this is too big. Jason can't go to every single home, but if it requires, I'm just throwing things out now. So
Right,
this will be
we-
for us all to talk about. But if it requires a bigger effort on GHD's staff to fill that gap with everybody being happy.
Before you even get that far, just going through town meeting
Yeah,
to fund us will be quite an education.
we did.
And you know, well,
Yeah.
yeah. And the thing of it is, you know, I see this as an easy job.
Okay, good,
I really do.
yeah.
I mean, you go up to Hyannis, you know,
Yeah.
it's insane. I mean,
Yeah, and they know, I mean, they've known for a year, right?
They,
Everybody that lives or works along this stretch, this is not a new,
No.
we don't need to, this is already out there.
I don't believe that's true.
We voted on it at town meeting, I mean.
Well, that's what, 400 people, at town meeting. At any rate,
Well,
I'd like to think we have plenty of publicity,
Yeah.
when it's gonna happen,
Right.
the timelines,
right,
and the precautions, and the necessary
Yeah.
actions that motors will have to take.
that's right, yeah.
And usually that's what happens. It has in the past, it's worked out, as far as 28 goes. We do it off-season, we don't have any super traffic problems,
Right,
so on and so forth. So it usually turns out to be a pretty neat job.
yeah.
I typically put out 2 flyers, one a month ahead of the project starting, or going to be in that particular area, then another one like the week before,
There you go.
with our number on it, contact. I typically also go through businesses, especially restaurants, when any deliveries, any concerns as far as residential, with medical, I get picked up every day at 8 o'clock, make sure my driveway's clear. You have our resident engineer out there on site, we make sure he's aware that you get this person can get access to the home in and out for those situations. There's a big checklist that I have, churches, any big events, talk to the community, any events, sometimes weekend, we're having a big, something, festival going on.
Okay,
so
we'll sort through
we
the
just go right
details,
down the
but-
list, no,
But
right.
you started off by saying something a month in advance.
Right, you
I
sent
mean-
out a flyer, right, just to get people thinking.
Yeah, I'm thinking, if I lived on that street, I'd want to be thinking 6 months in
Mhm.
advance. That's just me. A month to
Right.
me is not suitable, so that's something that we have to discuss.
Right.
That's all I'm saying,
Mhm.
A month would be, not acceptable to me. But,
Right.
and my other biggest question would be, on that day that I do have an unexpected doctor's appointment and my road's being blocked, who would I call?
Well, you would have a resident engineer out there, so he's right, he's got a yellow vest on. Person would say, okay, I need to get out of my driveway.
Okay, and I'd have his phone number.
Exactly.
Right.
And it'll be on those 2 flyers that I would pass out to him, so,
Yeah.
But how about after it's bid, and we know a start date
Mhm.
and an anticipation, we can send something out then?
Right.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
springtime,
You get the newspaper to write an
Yeah.
article.
You
springtime,
get the
and then a
newspaper,
month
you
ahead
get
of
the
time, a
town's
reminder,
website.
or 2 months ahead of time, a reminder, and
Yeah.
just keep everybody.
Right.
I'd
So
rather,
those are your long-term, notifications.
I'd rather send them 5 notices, the reason that the wastewater situation is working so well now is because we gave them so many notices and meetings for years and years and years that they're a well-educated resident group. And I frankly don't believe that people have very little knowledge about this, because it's been lumped in with the wastewater projects, and it's been referred to as the sewer pipe, way up by Division Street. I think very few people know it's going to go from Lower County to Division.
Well, I have kind of a crazy idea,
Yep.
and it's from the green water. So maybe around St. Patrick's Day, we get a environmentally friendly dye or whatever it is called. We put it in the Herring River, and we block off the road, and we have a block party for the town. And part of that is an educational piece.
With beer, with green beer
With
too.
I mean, it sounds silly, but you know what?
It's creative.
It's creative, you know?
That would be liable.
Hopefully it'll follow.
Quiet to go down the river. Go tell us what
Yeah.
color the
Let's not
river
put
is.
that
I think we have plenty of time to,
Yeah.
but I think people do, I think they know that this
I
is
think so.
coming down. It's been in the newspaper since town meeting.
electronic signs too.
So when would we be, like, seeing a draft of, like, the next contract with bid services and construction fee
I
services?
can set a meeting with Jason this afternoon, and we can figure a date out next week, and we can start moving on it.
Well, whenever Jason's happy.
That's my job is to keep Jason happy.
I'm not trying to push it,
Yeah.
but I wanted to make the point to you that, most engineering projects come in, a couple of pages, you sign them. This particular contract, we want input into it.
Sure.
In terms of the representation services and get it all in black and white, so then we can just do it.
Right.
And not have to worry about what it is or anything last minute. So.
Not a problem, some of my projects I've done this on is in Boston, along the medical area. I replaced all the water sewers and drains, that area. I know every hospital, that and school.
That's what
That must have been a nightmare.
The restaurant people, they all knew me by name.
That's-
So
yeah.
it's, and that's the
Oh,
level.
well, what does that mean, Bob?
It was all good. Because my CEO at that time's best friend was the superintendent of Boston Latin, so
Ah.
when I met with her, she goes, "You know who I am?" I go, "Yes, I do, ma'am." I know who you have dinner with every Friday night. So she was happy.
So what happens next?
So we'll get together, Jason and I will get together, and we'll go over some of these questions, or, and we'll formulate a plan of attack, and if you need me to come back, we'll come back, or Jason can let you know what's going on,
Yeah.
whatever you would like, yeah?
Well, certainly, as, not overnight, but as you guys progress, Jason, not that we don't want to see you, but you don't have to come back every time. Jason can provide us with drafts, and we can provide feedback, and then, get together for a final or whatever, something like that. Geez, I didn't write anything. That's bad.
Must have
It's
been
all
very good,
recorded,
though.
you can
That's right.
listen to it.
Anyone else? No? Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
I'm
time.
going to ask this gentleman's name, because I didn't catch it.
Eric Woodbury.
Eric Woodbury, okay, thank you. And my official boatman, Eric, so.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh, yeah.
No, that's
I'll
good
give you a call
people.
later today, we'll set something.
Yeah, let's, I'm gonna be
I'll
checking
shoot
up
you
all
an
afternoon. Yeah, perfect. But tomorrow, I'm all good, in the office, okay, so, okay.
Okay, well, let's see how fast we can blast through this.
Yeah, I have
So-
to leave by noon.
Okay, let's get a couple of things in.
I do, I'm
Thank
still
you.
behind.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you, bye-bye. So we have the minutes for August 6th. I do want to point out to you, even if it takes a minute, on the second page, about 3 or 4 quarters down, well, actually, you may want to take a minute to read the Bell's next section, but I particularly want you to read the motion to make sure. Remember, Judith, you and I talked about a form, then when I was talking to the admin staff, it was kind of agreed, why make it a bigger thing than, do it the same way we had always been doing it. So, just want to make sure everybody agrees on the language on. We had no tape that day, so thank you, Tracy. We smudged them together.
Yeah, that looks fun.
I think it covers it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you need a motion to approve? or-
I do.
I'll make one.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right?
All right, and September 10th, we will hold till next meeting. And Judith, just real quick, you asked about speaking and an executive. This reminded me, I mean, I would just conduct it the way I did my best that day. You know, I'll keep track of you. You asked about speaking at an executive session.
Oh, if
Yeah.
you wanted to represent us, or if
No,
you wanted us all
no,
to.
no, as long as you let me keep my little list and trust that I'll get to you. You know, like we did on this very busy day. Remember this meeting?
Yes.
Yeah, that's all. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, but no, I want to hear voices. So, okay, next we have an abatement for Carol Lane. It looks like it was an irrigation leak. Is Wellesley here? Tracy,
I could go.
we might need her particularly more for the second one. At any rate, to read the notes on Carol Lane, apparently they had discovered that they had a leak in a drip line. They said they were new to the house. I did look up the field card. It didn't look new, it might have been a family home, but at any rate, it's irrigation.
So was it their second bill? Was it their second bill so that they compared it, or?
I guess they got a high read, you mean, how they found
Yeah.
it? Yeah, and then, you know, looked into it.
They want to split the bill in half.
Hi, everyone.
Thanks, Wellesley. We're just on Carol Lane right now, but the next one, I need
Yes.
your help.
Okay, understandable.
I tried to figure it out.
It's a bit complicated.
You want to do Carol, the first one, Carol Lane?
Carol Lane we're doing, yeah, so,
Yes,
irrigation leak,
yes. Irrigation leak, I spoke with the owner, I explained how meters work, our rules and regs concerning irrigation systems. However, I mentioned that they are always free to file for an abatement because ultimately your decision. I offered a payment plan for when the bill is issued, which we're actually issuing this week. So she doesn't have the bill yet. And I sent her instructions for how to read her meter. I sent leak detection information so that she can, check around the rest of the property to make sure everything else is in good working order. But it turned out, in this case, it was irrigation.
And can I just ask, in the 8/30/24 notes, it says they believe the town should have made them aware of it?
Yes.
Like
So
in our system, kind of a red flag to come
we
up?
explained to her that it's not our responsibility to monitor everyone's homes. When we do billing, if something stands out, we do sometimes provide a courtesy call or an email alerting someone, but it's certainly not our responsibility to manage everyone's properties. It's everyone's responsibility to make sure everything is in good working order with the plumbing at their homes. It's certainly not our responsibility. But we do give courtesy calls sometimes to some residents.
If I could, the thing I would add to that, it's irrigation anyway, but it's not our responsibility to certainly perform all those functions. But also, if you look at the account, it was very normal the previous, spring, fall, spring, fall, spring, fall. So whatever happened in that drip line, it wouldn't much have mattered, you know what I mean? It was an existing irrigation thing that something happened to.
Well, in addition to that, they are new to this property, so as a new owner, we don't have history for them and their usage patterns. So when we do see a change in consumption history, if it's a new owner, we don't really know until a few cycles in how they're actually using the water. So for us, we wouldn't necessarily flag this account
Right.
because it's new ownership. So as far as more people living at the property, different irrigation settings, and so forth. So it's difficult for us to know until we have at least few cycles in on a particular resident.
It also says the Realtor didn't request a final read, so it's kind of hard to back that up too.
Right, I mean, they're not required, but they're always highly recommended.
Right.
Because then we can
It shows
get a
it.
good baseline read on when those people are moving out and when they're moving in. And this occurred several months after we were notified that it had
Right.
changed hands.
It helps.
Right, to know exactly when they actually purchased the property.
I move to deny.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So it's 5.
This is a drop in the bucket to someone.
Yeah, they're lucky they caught it that
They need to
quarter.
learn
Yeah.
the property,
And now they have materials to
Yeah.
monitor
Right.
their meter and
so they
to
can
know.
watch it.
And also to learn their irrigation systems.
Yes.
As well. Don't leave it to someone else to understand how to program, because if something goes wrong and they don't know how to operate it, they might potentially be losing all
Great point.
water. So,
Yeah.
The next one, I certainly need Wellesley help. It has to do with some late fees and some auto payments and 3 units in one house, which is fine, so I would ask, so it looks like it's a total of $100 that they're requesting, 25 on one portion of the house and 75 on the others, and with that, I'll give it to Wellesley.
yeah, thank you. So there are a total of 3 accounts for this particular property. There's a front building and a rear building and a fire service, residential fire service. The second account was installed, I believe, around a couple of years ago, so it's a fairly new account. The original account was set up with automatic payments once upon a time, but there was an error with how the spelling was when they moved into town, so we corrected that. And if an account is registered online, an email is generated to the owner, thank you for registering, and so forth. Every time there's a change with that account, whether they sign up for auto pay, automatic payments, paperless, expired credit cards, conveyance, they're always issued an email with what the attention is to the account. So in this case, they had been on, for the one account, I should say, account 40, they were on auto pay once upon a time. The account conveyed out when we did the name correction. So that generated an email to say, this account has been conveyed, which means if you have anything set up as far as auto pay, paperless, you'll need to re-register, and because you want to pull that new information in to correct it. So the account was not then re-registered, so there's no auto payments. And every time there's an auto payment, it generates an email saying, you have an auto payment coming up, thank you, blah, blah, blah. So I believe that conveyance happened about a year ago, so that has not been on auto pay since. And that account also was given a one-time late forgiveness, I believe, in a couple of years ago. So we've issued that one time that we can do it internally. The second account has never been on auto pay. That's all new, and we offered to remove one of those late fees back in early September of this year for one of the charges. But from the abatement, it looks like they're asking for all of the charges, including the one that we've already removed. And these accounts have not yet been put back onto auto pay. He, or someone registered last week and then removed themselves again. So I'm not sure why.
So this is one person and same, it's all the same person on 3 accounts?
Yeah, well, they're the same owners
Yeah,
of the
okay.
whole property, yes, yes. So maybe the emails weren't being read because they are generated. So not quite sure what may have happened there.
And the property owner pays all the water, or do the tenants pay the?
Well, we kind of stay out of who pays what.
Right.
Okay.
As long as the bill pays, that's all we, but I did notice that the same user had registered the accounts. So I would, think that they're paying like all of the accounts off.
Okay.
But that they're not on auto pay at the moment.
So, when I read their letter, and compared it to the note, it made me wonder even if they were referring to, like, you know how some people have their own auto pay systems through their bank, and,
Yes.
because she says, so auto pay wasn't correctly set up. But I don't know if she means through her own bank or or if she thinks it's through here. I mean, I just was totally confused. I don't know what she means.
Right, and because the one account had auto pay, I don't know if this is a case of assumption,
Right.
that if they register one, they assume that the other 2 are automatically enrolled, which is not the case, because every time you set something up, an email is generated with that account number, because they're 3 separate account numbers. And you have to also link them with your credit card information or checking account information and verify that you do want it. So as soon as you hit auto pay, it generates an email asking you to confirm that you do want it. But since the other account has never had auto pay, it never generated the email. But yeah, as of last week, they were both registered and then withdrawn from registration. So at this point.
I don't like that she says auto pay will be turned on for these accounts pending the completion of the abatement process.
And so we don't require a name or a business name with each account? It's
No.
just an address? Like, what happens if, I don't know, it just doesn't get paid after a year? Who gets billed?
Don't we turn it off?
No, we always bill the owner.
Right.
Of the
Always bill
property?
owner, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless the owner specifically requests that we bill a tenant, we do not switch accounts into tenants' names unless we have the permission from the homeowner, but we have to hear from the homeowner.
So this is most
So-
likely the homeowner, okay.
Right. So are these redacted? This has a person's
just
name?
redacted.
Yeah, that's all.
That's what we
Yeah.
do just for,
So then
So it sounds like you already removed some late fees in the past.
except the
Yes.
$25 one.
Right.
we have the ability through internal adjustments to remove 1 per account, and then anything over that comes before you. And
So
that's what.
that shows me that they were aware
Well,
something was going on and they need to maintain their own accounts.
I mean, this, one of the account with the 2 accounts on it, the 2 meters, has been getting penalties of the $25 nature since last September.
Which account number is that?
It is, account number 00040,
That's the original one, so that's the first account.
yeah.
Yes.
This is almost impossible to sort out. I mean, it seems like the person needs to clear up her, her accounts and make sure they agree with you. Is there any virtue to allowing her the 25 on the one that she did clear up? I mean, I don't know.
Is she difficult?
No, not at all. We don't, we keep this, we just stick to the accounts and the facts and what we're allowed to do is just the one. So we never go beyond that unless, it goes before you, so.
And the other late ones was because she thought that the bills were being paid, but she hadn't set up her banking automated
There
in
may have been
Kirkland?
some confusion there regarding the name that we were given by the Realtor and when we had to correct it. But that would have generated an email letting them know of the conveyance from the old information to the new. So that every bill issued after that would be under the new or corrected information.
And as far as you know, the email arrived, didn't bounce back.
Correct.
So that, may I make a motion
Please.
that we accept the abatement at $25 and deny the $50? So, I don't know the correct language for that, but,
I'll second that.
Except for, isn't the second one $75, not 50? I just want to clarify.
isn't she asking for $25 on each of the three?
If I may.
Or, yeah, I'm sorry.
No, that's right. I believe she's asking for 25 on one account and 75 on the second account.
Oh.
The second account is the one that we've already issued a 25. So essentially it's 50, because we're removing as a one-time late forgiveness, as an internal adjustment. Perhaps that was a bit confusing on their behalf,
Right.
which I understand, because we need to do it internally, but they're asking for the whole sum for 75. So essentially it would be 50, because we've already taken care of the 25.
So it's 25 plus 50, as Judith said?
That's what I believe they're truly asking.
So, yeah, she has 75 and 25. It sounds like $100.
And
But
then,
they've already paid the 25, so that knocks 25 off.
Yeah.
So we'll
and they
go
have
to 25.
240 in late fees total, and they're asking of that, the total amount assessed?
I believe they're just asking for the most recent ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they've run up a tab of 240 of extra fees, and they've paid most of it except for this last $100?
Correct.
$100, right?
They've made a few payments as of last week. So I believe the only balance remaining
Yeah, I think
on
they
accounts
can.
are late fees.
Of $100 total, of the three? If you,
I believe it's 25 on one and it might be 50 on the other, because I'm not sure if
Okay.
Sandy got the opportunity to remove that 25 under the internal adjustment.
I don't see the 240, Judith.
Do you stand,
It's
your
on the-
motion still stand?
It's on, it's, you look at
Yeah,
the paper
it's-
request of 115 Route 28. I want to deny it. It's crazy.
Total amount is,
She needs to keep track of
Oh, yeah.
her bill.
Well,
We can't do it
assessed
for her.
doesn't matter anyway.
yeah, that's where I'm leaning to. And the
Okay.
$25 hadn't been, there was, she still had one $25 option that wouldn't even come before us necessarily.
We've already
You could
provided the
internal.
one 25 abatement on, or internal adjustment on one account, and we've already issued one on the second account. So the two that we're able to do have already been expunged.
And so there's an opportunity for you to do one more?
No, now it's up to you, whether you want to abate further charges. So that's what they're asking for,
Okay,
the additional late fees that have been applied to the account.
so then I would move to deny.
Second,
Okay, so we have, move to deny, first and second. Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, I feel for her, but it's afternoon.
Can you possibly stay 10 minutes?
Yeah.
All right, because the next, it kind of concerned, all right, let me get these out of the way.
Allison, you know the next meeting? The first week in November, I'm gone.
Okay.
Oh, can we start at 8 then?
Push for 10 minutes.
Yeah, thank you, Leslie. Okay, so Bob needs to leave, as we all do. So,
Yeah.
the next topic, actually, I'll try to do it quickly. This is the one where you have some samples,
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of weird looking things. And this started from a question that Bob brought up back in the summer, a very good question, when the issue of the complicated Five Bells Neck case came before us. And what Bob noticed was that the departments, like planning, when they're issuing a, special permit or something like that, they have a form that they send out to conservation, to health, to this one, to fire and police. But water does not have a box on that. So Bob said, perhaps there should be a box on those forms for our input. But I wanted to find out how it worked first. Because it's not just the box, it's how much work it creates for the people up here. So at any rate, talking with staff, so far in this confusing back and forth with town situation, I learned that in fact there are interdepartmental trusts that have been going back and forth all along. They are not the box. Part of the reason may be because people aren't really ready for water when they're at the stages to talk about the other things that a special permit would be asking for. I mean, I'm not sure. This is our discussion, have not talked to any of those departments. So I was just giving you guys, first of all, some samples of the types of things that have been going up and down for years. So for instance, this first one, marked sample from August of 2021, you see where from the planning assistant, she writes out the details, and then it was Dan, when you see at the bottom here, when it says water/DRP, that's Dan Pelletier, and he had written no water available on Nathan Walker Road, closest town water mains, blah, blah, blah. If town is desired, he'd be required at their own expense to extend the water main from Samoset to Cherokee. So these are just samples. Dan shared some of these. Here's another one, a little different form, and it doesn't, the backup thing is at the bottom. You see Dan's initials, and he mentions that it needs a better backflow device than normal. And the last one was right around when he was leaving, I guess, and somehow it got down to him. In the meantime, my last piece of information before we discuss is that since Jason's been here, he said that, probably his third hour, or something like that, people came down from, I don't know, planning maybe, and gave him something to sign off on. So that's the background. The only other piece is that, procedures, any change in procedures that affects the staff, we need to know all the ifs, ands, or buts. The Bell's Next situation was very unusual. It's the only situation of that nature that we've had pretty much in 10 or 15 years. So I don't know if a problem with that one situation is enough to generate a change in our procedures that have been working well. And on that note, I would have Bob talk, since it was his idea, and also ask Jason's input.
Yeah, when that whole thing came up, I just went down to planning and building to see if I wanted to pull a permit or I was doing anything, what the procedure was. And I didn't notice anything that notified the water department. And I went on to some of the documents here for the hearings with Bell's Neck that had happened, but we seem to have been missed from all of that. So, with affordable housing, all these things coming through now, I think it might be good for us to be involved in that process and have our name on these things. That I don't think it would be too much for the staff, but some of these projects, we definitely want to be notified that are happening.
Yeah, and I think, for planning.
And it seems simple enough that we just get a memo or whatever.
This is just notification.
Notification.
We're not-
Well, we get these.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, do we get them all?
Yeah. These go back and, see, these are the things we wouldn't know, you know. These go back and forth to Jason for many years, you know, this is the system.
But Dan didn't get these for the Bell's Neck.
The Bell's Neck is the one exception.
Was
And-
it that just somebody forgot to send one of these?
Well, Bell's
From-
Neck, I think, was, you know, that's the outlier.
Okay.
You know, I mean, he didn't even file for a water application until September. He went for a variance for the, I mean, and it's a place that didn't have water in the main street. I mean, there's so many
the town-
peculiarities about Bell.
Yeah,
But
okay.
the system that all the others go through, water mains all the time, is this system. So,
What do you think, Jason?
yeah.
You feel
Jump
comfortable
in.
with the notifications you're getting?
So, since then, I have not received more,
Okay.
okay? So, if I get a notification that, they're basically saying, here's what's going on, here's the permits that have come
Yeah.
out. Do you have any objection with what's going on? And that's basically what that's saying.
Right.
I don't know really the process of how that happens, on how they take their permits out, on where they, you know, all towns are different on how they go about things. And I can only say from East Bridgewater, when they went up to the building department, they could pull out any permit they wanted, and we would never know about it.
Right.
They would have to come down and they would have to pull a water application out with the water department. But before I knew it, I'd have a contractor that was coming down saying, oh, by the way, I have, you know, we're putting in plastic pipe down here. And I said, well, we don't allow plastic pipe, so you're gonna have to redo all of your construction and put ductile iron pipe in. Well, with ductile iron pipe, that's twice the expense. So he would have to do that, but he didn't know about that. So getting to know, having, you know, if they send that to me, that's fine. You know, either way, it's gonna get to me eventually.
But-
Is there a harm in having a box here they have to check and notify you before all this gets started?
Well, wait a minute. I fully understand what we're doing here. The bylaw says that if you're building a house, you put in a request for water, the homeowner builder pays to have a water line put to the house. If there are no water mains, usually the developer installs all the water mains, working in conjunction with the department to follow the rules. And then hookups are done by the developer once the houses are built. That's, you know, we usually hook, well, I forget exactly the total detail there, from the main to the house. We've been doing it, and I guess we're still doing it. You know, so, but as far as the department coming up with funding to run water mains where there isn't, we don't do that anymore. Haven't done that for several years now. So, you know, I thought it was working okay as it stood, but I guess it doesn't.
Yeah, I think maybe, well, so there's 2 potential large housing projects coming up. I'm gonna assume that Jason's gonna be invited with all the other department heads when they sit down with the developers to discuss it, right? And I think the Bell's Neck thing must have just
Just slipped through
been
the
like a
crack.
cluster
Yeah.
that, yeah.
I'm not inclined to change any procedures now.
I think what Bob was saying was, all it was is a checkbox.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, plumbing has to be checked off, electrical,
That's all I was
everything,
saying.
so before they can issue occupancy permit.
Yeah, and maybe
So-
put irrigation on there too,
But-
so people
But
think
I'm
about it,
talking
right?
about
Just,
the
I just didn't
timing
want it to have
Hang
to come
on.
to us in
Right.
an emergency session with select board members saying you have to take action today because we didn't contact you for 8 months or
Yeah.
whatever it was.
My concern is the timing of it. When a special permit, which is the most, we can't put everything in one box, but the most common way these things go through, I've just looked at a ton of them. And most of them say like, health, checkbox, engineered plan for septic to be approved within 60 days. Conservation, something within 60 days. Traffic or paving, stormwater to be approved 30, they usually go for that first. So my concern about putting a water box there, and I don't know, this is all stuff that these guys deal with and know, far better than me, but is that I don't know if they're already ready then. See, for us to say to them, well, there's water in the main street, I mean, sure, happy to say that then, but to say to them then, we want an approved water plan within 60 days, I think that's early to ask the developer. I think by putting the box in then, and I don't really know, that's why I'm nervous, could cause a problem, because as long as you know there's water in the main street, you don't run around to do the engineering on that till the end. The water's there. Bell's Neck had no water, so, completely different. But as long as they write back and say, there's water in the main, and the main is big enough, I mean, I'm just hesitant to change anything with our lack of, it seems to be running okay until Jason digs in a little more.
Yeah,
I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
I,
it was a good question, I wanted to respond.
Well, I
to.
feel like we get missed.
Yeah.
That's my only point.
That was my
Is
first
that
reaction.
When you're up there
but-
pulling
Yeah,
permits,
see, I,
the water department isn't there,
Yeah.
so it's not a natural to
I
go
I
to.
didn't know about any of these, so maybe
Yeah.
we give
So
it
that
6
was my
months
only
and see what
question.
Jason, give it 6 months and see what Jason likes.
Yeah.
Jay, when you were here before,
Mhm.
wasn't the water department putting in water mains then? Or had we stopped?
I don't know, I think you had stopped.
Yeah, okay,
They just
Okay.
started it.
We'll pick the date
That was
next
right when
week.
Craig
Uh-huh.
started.
yeah,
He's got a couple of things just
Okay.
update.
yeah,
the
I,
date, so you-
Bruce was
Okay.
still there.
good,
Bruce was, too.
they don't do it either.
No, he was, right after he passed away. They
When
started.
Bruce, yeah, when Bruce is here, we were doing that,
Yeah, you weren't doing it.
Well, we had just stopped at some point
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
I mean, the thing of it is, these guys come to town, create a development, and then expect the town to pay for the mains and,
No, I'm sorry, this is just
Yeah.
into the house.
oh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, after, yeah, Bruce,
Right,
yeah.
right.
Yeah, the contractors are out there, yeah.
Okay, I think Jason has a couple of things on superintendents, but I'd like to pick the next meeting in case Bob has to slide out.
I gotta
Jason,
go too.
yeah,
Oh,
I
definitely gotta go.
thought I saw that you have a big meeting on the 15th during the day. Possibly one of those, either Pine Oaks or Phase 3, I'm not sure.
I think I have something during.
Eventually, this board, we may have to talk about switching the day till Wednesday, but we don't have to do it right now. Only because now Jason's running into things. And actually, we might have that executive. I'd like to put some of these personnel issues, they've been dragging on 3 years behind us, so it'd be nice to have that move on. Maybe our next meeting is the 22nd, then, to be on the safe side.
I'm in Oklahoma.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Of November?
October. How about the 29th?
I leave town on the 29th.
You're out of town?
Yeah, till
Okay.
the 7th.
What do we have coming up? What do we have? You know what? Maybe we'll leave it, that we'll wait and see what we have coming up. I'll talk to Jason and see what contracts come up or other things. We will have to start talking about our capital plan in a while, but not overnight. and maybe we'll kind of leave it out there. Or, so you two are away for both the week of the 21st and the whole week?
I leave on the 29th, I'm back on the 7th.
Okay, and you're,
I'm away for like 4 days.
okay.
Sunday through Thursday.
All right, so it's, yeah, so they're good, yeah. All right, so, well, I'd love to get that 15th and get that done. That would
Yeah,
feel good. Yeah, let's, I'm hoping, I'm pushing for that date, so, you know, to get in. It's been a lengthy line up there. Library was in for 2 weeks in a row for over an hour. See, they've been having department after department, so I'm gonna push for that one.
So October 15th, we gotta go?
Well, I will confirm it with you, but it
Okay.
looks like that at 5 o'clock, and that will be the personnel one,
Okay.
so that's all I'll say, but that,
So you'll update us on that meeting then?
on the meeting after, yeah, I'll update you on both that meeting, and we'll have, once we have proper things for the agenda, we'll send out a notice about our next meeting. The only problem is, can we look at the week of the 4th? They don't usually like us to have them on election days.
No, I won't be here for election day.
All right, so, but we've got to pick some day to
What
meet,
about the following week?
because now we're going into a month and a half. We don't do that. I mean, but how about Wednesday, the 6th, the day after election?
I don't think I'm back to the 7th.
There's no time in October? If we can't get together in the month of October?
Well, the 22nd or the 29th will either be without one of them.
I can do the 22nd.
Well, just do the 22nd. I can maybe call him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
they have phones in Oklahoma.
And we have our natty.
Yeah, we had a conference. I
Yes.
can step out for,
Yeah.
An hour?
You know, yeah.
Yeah.
but
You guys don't mind not
as long
seeing
as
my
we have
mug?
a majority.
because you'll be on
Yeah.
vacation.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
do the
We don't want
business.
you calling on your vacation.
I'm gonna go to
Do
Mexico.
the 22nd and,
All right.
yeah,
Okay,
I'll sing Oklahoma
22nd,
for
what
you.
time?
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock, okay.
And then real quick, I'm gonna pass out, was from the low-pressure grinder pump,
Oh, okay.
and I'm just gonna give a quick overview of what we have, what they were, this was at the selectmen's meeting, this was the draft that they were saying, on the policy, they were just, this policy that they were trying to put together, and we didn't get it until a little bit, we didn't get it till later, and everybody really didn't see it. They were trying to basically get this for the selectmen to take a look at, a reading. We were there. And just, this is for them to purchase and who they distribute them to, and how they go about doing that. This right here, and this is what they put forward, I'm not saying we
Right.
can add to it or do whatever we would like and then submit it back to the selectmen. This had nothing to do with our rules and regulations. And I made a copy of what we have in our rules and regulations for everybody to read. And Noreen, you brought a lot of good comments to them about, a generator plug-in, a battery backup to the outside of whether it's gonna be a cellular alarm system that gives them a notification on all of that. And I think that is what you
Yeah.
will be doing, is putting what you want in the rules and regulations that basically add to this policy. But I think what they were saying with this policy was, we just are trying to get it through so we can procure them and identify who needs them. But it didn't sound that way. When they brought it forward, they were like, oh, this is a policy, and it's almost like it was gonna go on the rules and regs.
Yeah.
But our rules and regs specify different. So, and the rules and regs supersede the policy. So I just wanted to bring to that, so everybody knows, because there are some people that are going to need grinder pumps.
Which specific, because I did read these,
Yep.
which specific one supersedes?
What, our rules and regs
Yeah,
will supersede any policy that they come up with.
right. I didn't see them to be,
Right, so what they was trying to do with this was to say, with the policy was, this is a policy on phase 2 and 3. The engineer is identifying who needs a pump,
right,
the procurement of the funding and getting that, and it would basically give them saying, okay, go ahead, move forward with doing that.
right.
That's what the pump policy was for. Now, I made a copy of Mashpee's
Right.
on the other side. Mashpee's policy, and this is on their website, is almost word for word
Yeah.
on the one, it's almost like they did a cut and paste.
Shocking.
Yeah,
Why do
right,
they approve and not us?
yeah, right.
Isn't this mostly our purview?
Well,
No, wow.
I think they got it from Mashpee. I think they went through a lot of them and they got a lot.
Yeah.
Because Mashpee is almost.
Falmouth is the same way.
And you know, I still haven't looked up Falmouth.
All these
and I've been
sandwich,
wanting to.
yeah.
Falmouth's supposed to have,
Boilerplate.
Chatham.
Well-
Yeah, a boilerplate. So I think that our rules and regulations are what we, or as a board,
Right.
need to look at and say, this is what is gonna move forward.
Right.
And if there's anything to add it to the rules and regulations
right.
and not the policy. But that is,
That's a good point.
I didn't see the draft policy and our rules and regulations as being any problem with each other.
What is the warranties? Which policy?
so the warranties
Is
on.
what we said it. Well, go ahead.
The warranties, when they put it out for bid, they can put in that bid that we want a 5-year warranty.
Right,
A lot of the towns that are putting these things out to bid are a 5-year warranty.
yeah.
And so that's what they're looking, that's what I told Mark, I said, you need to put that into a 5-year warranty and
Yeah.
bids. So we can come up with the policy and how they want everything to be. I guess the policy is for them to write the bid out. And then
Yeah.
and who gets them, because that's who they want to identify, and then where are they gonna go and how are they gonna be
Right.
distributed.
So, okay, so back to that, I mean, this would be a select board policy, because it's their money, they do the procurement, this is part of, comes out of construction money, so like that 50 million that we voted a couple of years ago, that's what paid for this. Just so people understand, grinder pump average 10,000, so if you need 10, if you need 40 for phase 3, we're only talking really $500,000, and it saves millions in not having to dig so deep. So it's also a good thing to do for the residents, but I like people to keep it in focus that, it's saving us money, by them doing this. But at any rate, what I said at the September 4th meeting, since this kind of got merged onto us, will I put it that way, and they agreed, is that we need, the policy, is fine, whatever, but we need a working document to go with this to,
I gotta go.
okay, that's okay, Andy. Grinder
Yeah.
pumps.
I know you got here too, you still got 3.
But that's okay, but at any rate, I'm closing up. We need to write a working document to go with this,
See you later.
See,
for how it will operate for our department before they write it and just say, do it. So, that's what we'll have to do over the next few,
okay.
whenever. And the select board said, whenever we have that, bring it back, and then we can all discuss it. So, that's that. Were you gonna give us an update on Vicksburg and Bay, the backup sewer issue?
Yes, we are out there flushing that right now. We have the surveyors lined up, and I don't have a date when they will be getting out there. But we haven't had any issues by us flushing that out, so that's good. I plan on touching base with her this week.
Surveyors are hard to get, huh?
There's a lot of work going on.
This is to try to resolve that situation, just so you'll know, that came back to us to resolve. This is the home that was having some backups. And we didn't know if we still don't know if the cause of the situation was it design? Was it our contractors? Was it the installation of the house itself, that part of it? Yeah,
And then,
just
station.
don't know.
Is there any way to figure that out? Like,
Well,
put
that's,
something in, I don't know.
So we're having it surveyed to see what the elevations are, and then we'll
And the
have a good idea
pressure.
of what transpired. So that's the first step.
And do they have something functional now, or are they out of the house?
No, they're there, and what we have to do is go back, we go in there every week and just, we're
John Juan.
flushing.
Oh, is that
So we're
every
putting
week?
some water down the manhole, and it flushes
Okay.
everything through.
So there's no health issue.
No,
That's good.
yeah.
They were in, the woman who owns the house came into the last meeting. She was very, very nice. I mean, they're
Yeah.
but I mean, they'd love to get it resolved, so.
So don't we, because we got a couple guys out there every
Right.
week trying to do that.
You just can't say which side it is till we know.
Where is that located?
Vicksburg and Bay Road.
Oh,
Remember the woman who was in
Yeah.
last meeting?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The one with Flushing.
yeah.
And we got the new loader.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, so we got the new
Exciting.
loader, so I'm gonna tell everybody that. We got that last week, so.
Now, ye of little faith, I remember in the spring, and we talked about, Dan was gone, it was like, what we'll be able to handle, and we said, well, we'll sign all those anyway, and everybody laughed and said, well, you won't get them for a year anyway, and look at that,
That's
4
right.
months, so.
Yeah.
Right, Tracy? We didn't expect those to come in. That was signed in a hallway on our way through, so good job, guys.
And then could I just throw out,
Sure.
for
Oh, I'm
next
sorry,
time?
Commissioner's
No,
report.
no, I wanted to ask as a group if we could just explore for the off-season, starting the meetings early, like at 8:30 or something. I know he's got a
Yeah.
breakfast thing in the summers.
Yeah.
Just 'cause I'm supposed to be in Boston in an hour and a half, and
Yeah. I would love for him first to get his, because, Joe used to have these monthly department head meetings.
yeah,
And once he gets his schedule set, because now he's got these early Tuesday morning ones, that's why he moved. So hopefully within the next month, once he knows, but Joe's been jumping around, then I'd love to have the five of us
Monday,
talk. And,
yeah.
Monday members are no-go because of the guys in the field. They come in with all jobs
right,
piled
right.
up, yeah. But whatever, back to Fridays, whatever.
Or
But
Fridays.
as soon as he gets his, I would love to
Okay.
have that conversation, yeah.
okay.
And have everybody throw out there.
Yeah, 'cause Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, I'm very often up there.
Yeah, how was Fridays? Remember we tried Fridays
Fridays
for a
was
while?
okay, yeah, and
It's a
it forces me to
possibility.
stay here.
Huh?
It forces me to stay here. I like it. Except for when I'm at my mom's, but then I can call him.
Yeah, or back to Thursday maybe,
Thursday, I've got programming.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, we'll get him settled first.
Yeah.
And, because the Tuesday thing is a new thing now, that he has Tuesday morning. Did you have one of those this
Tuesday, no,
morning?
so I do believe that they're once a month, and I think they're
Yeah,
the
but we don't
first-
know when,
I
so,
think they may be the first Tuesday, and I do have some in there, so I will look at that.
yeah. But even then, it's nice when we can have a day that we don't have to go, oh, that's the first, or, you know what I mean? If we
Yeah.
just had a day that's just like we used to, but I'm happy to have that conversation, my dear.
Okay.
So, oh, I'm sorry, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
can we have a